Okay.
Stephen.
And we should be live. Hello, happy Monday, everyone.
Everyone, good Monday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's it going, guys?
It's Monday. It's good. It's a
It's
good start
Monday.
of the Monday. I mean, for us that are just
Mm,
starting Monday, I think this is a great way, at least for me, to start and kick the week off. How about you?
yes. Oh, couldn't complain at all. I would say that this season we really wanted to start with a boom, and we have a great guest today. Let me introduce you guys to Lance Garcia. Lance, you are UX design team leader for Azure.com, right? But
Correct.
I mean, before talking about your headlines, I'm curious to hear more about Lens before the word that Microsoft, Azure, and all the stuff. So, rather of introduction, let's run like this. Who are you?
Wow, that's a wonderful question. My name is Lance. It's actually my middle name. My real first name is, I go by R, the initial, because R Lance is a great artist moniker to hold. And if you go to rlance.com or rlance at Gmail, rlance at Microsoft, other ways to get a hold of me, you'll be able to reach me. So I go by Lance ever since the doctor slapped my butt in San Juan, Puerto Rico. But I moved to Los Angeles when I was a little bit of baby of 8 months old, wanted to make it, in Hollywood and all that. That's where my parents had actually been raised since the teenagers. And growing up in LA, you see, people from all these different places come and try to make it, and especially in the one town business that is Hollywood and entertainment. And I just remember I just wanted to do anything but that kind of an industry. And I was getting online and putting my portfolio probably for like video games at the time coming out of college. My BFA was in animation, entertainment arts, and I just fell in love with the internet. And I remember thinking, man, we could do everything. This is the right before the dot-com boom and bust and all that, or late 90s, early 2000s. And I never looked back. And I knew I was in the right path because I got to go to Tokyo, Japan. I got to work with Stan Lee, the creator of X-Men and Spider-Man. I got to do things like I'm doing today, which is running Azure.com, along with a lot of other major .coms out in the world. And it's been just a wonderful journey sticking with this particular medium. And of course, as a designer, you work in all types of medium, whether it's logos or and corporate identity and all that packaging comes with it. I've designed tattoos for people, books and packaging, traditional print, as you can imagine. But I don't know, something about the internet and everything you can do just kind of brings me back all the time. When I got to go to ESPN 3 times in a row for back-to-back-to-back projects, including ESPN FC for all those soccer football fans out there, I knew, again, this was a great choice for me.
It was a great intro, actually. And now you are the host of Designers Land, so this is something that you should be proud of that. It's been great, and I'm super convinced that your experience at this overlapping of different designing kind of fields, it's so fascinating and it's so interesting coming back from our first season to now understanding more about your experience, because we say that what's your current position, but Fede, do you want to add more on that?
Yeah, and for those who hopefully understand, that you all gave us the word Azure, you and your Italians. Thank you. We appreciate that. It really is. You might be familiar with Microsoft's original succinct mission statement, which was to put a personal computer on everybody's desk and home. And the fact that we were able to do that is pretty phenomenal in its own right. Microsoft Azure and its cloud computing offering, now that succinct mission is to build the world's computer. And the fact that we get to play a part in it, when I came in the late summer of 2017, there was only 87 products and services, we call them. And these are things that you can do using the cloud and building cloud native applications and whatnot. And they range everything from storage to networking, security, which is honestly probably the most important thing in the world right now, to intelligence, artificial and cognitive services. So the fact that you can do all this stuff on somebody else's server. And honestly, Federico, if I had just a post-it note and did a very UX-y thing and just wrote it, it's basically just somebody else's server. I mean, that's really all it is, you know, in the bumper sticker format. But the fact that you can do everything that you need to do in the world on somebody else's server. In our case, it's the billions and billions of dollars that this company has invested in the infrastructure, the data centers, the piping that goes underneath all the oceans. Now we're in space, we're underwater. It's a pretty phenomenal like ecosystem of offerings that, again, only a few big companies have survived it. Meaning this horse race that is cloud computing, at least at the biggest level. And I don't want to give our two competitors any airtime because you know, it's tough being number two in the market. You're constantly like racing and being chased at the same time. But the truth is, it's just an expansive field, and I love being a part of it because, again, when I came 4 years ago, it was 87 products and services. Now we're over 200, maybe even close to 300. And I don't see it stopping, at least not in this decade. I remember when I was looking to join Microsoft, I was already living in the area. In this case, it's Seattle, Washington, this Pacific Northwest of our country, United States. And I moved here from Miami, where Federico, you and I could spend a little bit of time together. Before that, Washington, D.C., before that, Tokyo, Japan, before that, Los Angeles, as I mentioned. And I just remember thinking, one, this place is gorgeous, like nothing but forest, mountain, rivers, lakes, trees. It's absolutely perfect, especially in the summer. But also the tech hubs, you know, as you can imagine. And now this used to be called like the Emerald City or something because of how green it is. Now they call it Cloud City because obviously of our main competitor as well as everything. But every major tech company is coming here to take advantage of, this particular cloud space, as you mentioned. So again, it's been being in the middle of the growth. And again, I don't know if it's this decade and next decade, but being part of double-digit growth year in every quarter, not just every year, every quarter has been, again, just really, really wonderful.
Lance.
And it's, you know, it's everyone who needs it. Sorry, everyone, if you want to listen to music, if you want to watch a video, you know, when you're out and about, eventually spatial computing is going to take over. And that's actually what I came for. I came to work on HoloLens, or I thought that's what I was interviewing for. Luckily, I didn't get that job, and I got this job instead.
Wow. So I was just curious because starting from your intro, where the .com was your future back in those days, and now that you are talking at the future of your current work in Azure and etc., like, what is your future right now that you are in the future already? It doesn't make sense, like the future of servers on the cloud. What do you think will be from the next, let's say, 20 years? Is that too much?
No, it's not because I already spoiler alert, I already gave the answer away. It really is spatial computing.
Wow.
So spatial computing for us, you know, it's, looking down there at Federico's company's product, Oculus. That's a very confined, darkened space. Our product was called HoloLens, where it's called mixed reality because it can go, you can just look at this foreground element, or you can look at your surrounding element with the foreground, graphics. Obviously, Snapchat and the Google Glass and all these other products have been early experiments. But the fact is, I mean, it's already pervasive in our life. From refrigerators and ovens and my washing machine. I happen to really enjoy Samsung products, hardware, utility, in home kitchen and whatnot. And like the fact that I can use them on my phone or via my voice. I mean, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous computing. Can't say that word right, but I can spell it, unfortunately. And it's just everywhere. So look, and again, I mean, I'm being selfish because it's all empowered, not just powered, but empowered by the cloud and cloud computing. And as soon as you walk away from your little hotspot in your home, the fact that you can keep doing it again is just a nod to the power of the networks that are out there.
I'm thinking of the responsibilities that you have as a UX lead on those topics. Since from the outside, I don't know you, Federico. that could be a scary topic, right? In terms of, like, I won't say just privacy, but generally speaking on those unlockings. I'm curious to hear thoughts from my friends from the US, since I'm still in Europe and I see stuff. Despite I'm in Amsterdam, I still see, probably I'm more on the past based on the reality that you're living.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to social media, in the last 2 decades as it grew up and, became, at least now, or you should know if you don't already, as soon as you give something to social media, it's out there forever. Your digital footprint is always out there, no matter what you try to do to delete it. So if I'm going to have this value exchange, I'm going to read and follow and understand and share and comment, but I'm also going to give in order to have this reciprocation of communication and honestly, social connection, which humans have been doing forever. Technologies is finally catching up. Then that's honestly the tax I pay. That's my form of payment. But I'm okay with that. If I'm an oversharer and then I get some retribution in the form of a comment that someone doesn't like something I'm wearing, again, that's the good with the bad. So I think with this spatial computing and the future of where technology is going, again, Minority Report wasn't wrong. When Steven Spielberg made that movie in the late 90s, he literally grabbed, I think it was like 22 of the thought leaders and futurists and authors, and they got in these think tank rooms. I think it was over a week, maybe less. And they said, what is the future? And you saw him traversing through, these different worlds. And again, digital was just part of you. I don't want my eyeball sucked out anytime soon. I don't think that's going to be cool. But if I'm willing to exchange let's say the worst thing is the government tracking me. Everywhere I go, I'm in Bellevue, Washington, which is the main suburb of Seattle, and I go to Seattle, then I take a flight to Firenze to go visit you guys, or Amsterdam, which is my other favorite city I still haven't been to, I need to go to. Am I okay with the government or a big technology company knowing my whereabouts? The truth is, I'm okay with it because my oldest daughter, who's now 13, she went and visited friends yesterday, and I asked her, the first thing I did was turn on your location so I know where you are. So again, there's just this value exchange of things, services that either I have to be okay with, if not, figure out a way to opt out of said services, and just understand, nothing in this world is for free. Yeah, and it reminds you of probably Pablo Picasso, the famous artist, quote that, computers are worthless, they only give you answers. And I love, as designers, one of our superpowers is to ask the right questions. And usually it's, what problem am I solving and who am I solving it for? And I like what you said, Federico. If we just keep you said D&I, which stands for diversity and inclusion. We're supposed to spell out our initialisms and acronyms here. If we keep humanity in mind and things that I wouldn't be okay with, then I think that's a really good starting point as we start to uncover and ask these questions that, again, no computer, or even, to be honest, people down the line in the process of designing into creating into making into building are gonna bother asking. It really is up to designers to be at the forefront and continue to wave that flag.
I'm curious from your experience, Lance, to ask you more about failures, generally speaking, because we were talking about desires, growth, future, right? But I know that probably you have a lot of failures from your past experience, or generally speaking in our works. The first that is in your mind right now, the biggest one, the first that pops into your mind. You have 5 seconds to share this, if you can, of course.
Yeah. I can even say the company because it's going to stick with me forever. Nike Japan. I lived, and I was lucky enough to, after the .com crash, where I was working in Stanley Media, I got the chance to go to Japan and go be creative director at a really small, Flash shop when Flash was a thing. And we were doing so good, where we won Sony Music right away, and all, Canon and all these other big Japanese companies. And then we got to work with Nike Japan, which was a dream. I played, you can't see my college mugs up there, but like, hey, college football, of course, Nike was, everything growing up. So I went and we won this pitch, and it was the shortest creative brief I ever got, which was make it speedy and cool. And I don't know, for you guys haven't done a session on imposter syndrome, or imposter phenomenon, as I call it. But hopefully you know the term, where it's a psychological pattern of where you just, no matter what you do, it's never good enough. And no matter how many times you do it, you still don't think you can repeat the success that you've had. I have the opposite problem. I don't know, let's call it Tom Cruise phenomenon or Tom Cruise syndrome, where I think I could do everything. And so I was working with this dream client, Nike, in Japan, which is, again, dream just being there in itself. And I spent 4.5 months creating this microsite. And it was important because it was the first ever no TV global campaign. It was 2003, 2004. So Nike, McDonald's, I think, and a few big companies decided we're going to go all in on digital. We don't even need to use TV anymore. And of course, the media mix has changed, depending on the year and the time. But this was their first ever attempt. And so I was helping the country of Japan with their Made to Move campaign. And I spent 4.5 months on this campaign, and I literally put myself into it, not just my heart, but myself. And you can even see it, rlance.com/Nike. And, it's this flash, thing going on. You'll see me as a silhouette. I came up with this idea of taking photos where the person is a shadow and then the clothes can stand out. But because it was 2003, because it was flash, because internets weren't that strong back then, it had to be really small. And that's what Nike wanted. Nike wanted to show their their materials and their clothing as large and beautiful as you can. And so I just remember thinking, I was so fixated on what I thought was cool or what I wanted, instead of like really asking, again, deeper questions, better questions at all. So it really taught me that, one, you aren't the audience, the target audience, no matter how much you think you love Nike or an athlete or anything, or want that authentic athletic apparel. You really do have to go deeper. So not just asking their stakeholders, your clients in this case, but the people who are out and about, humans, basically. So yeah, just asking better questions and get rid of your own Tom Cruise phenomenon ego.
If you have shared just this story as the first error that popped into your mind, you should definitely write a book of the stories of your failures. Please write those. If you need help, I can help you write it, and we can start.
That's a damn good business book idea. And not just my failures.
Let's wrap for another idea. Let's wrap it for another idea. Let's come back to design. You will have a message later.
Design Failures Incorporated. I love
it.
Honestly, hopefully your partner knows Federico, but Federico and I used to work together at a very large consulting company. And we had a executive creative director who used to say, it doesn't really matter B2B or B2C, business to business or business to consumer, because we're designing for B2P, business to people. I can extend the B2E, business to everyone. Like at the end of the day, after you get off your laptop at 5:05 p.m., maybe 3:55 for those in France, those lucky bastards, you go and you still grab Netflix and you go, grab your favorite blog and you go read, something in the Atlantic or the Economist or something. I don't know. Those are still business related, but you know what I mean? Like something personal that's you. You're still designing for people who their expectations are at this Airbnb, Uber level, not really at your business to business, software level. So yeah, you can make it complex and really hard to like figure out, but at the end of the day, people's expectations rise, every year. So on Azure.com, and even a couple other things that I'm helping out with here in the division I'm part of, which is the Cloud and AI business part, you always have to understand that your competitor, number one, sometimes is apathy or doing nothing. Like avoiding your technology or avoiding your experience that you're designing for. Like I don't want to deal with that right now, especially in the last year that we've all been through, 15, 16 months. The second thing, obviously, is direct competitors. But sometimes it's these indirect competitors that I've been mentioning, all these, amazing brands that do a crap ton of testing in order to get things right at, again, a very human to computer social level, interaction level. So I don't know, it's a constant evolution. That's a really good term for it, because we're just trying to make it easier, frictionless and easier for people to get the information they need and get the jobs that they need done in a really quick and efficient way. And luckily, cloud computing, the business model is phenomenal. You mentioned scale, but it's actually cheaper. You only pay for what you need. So the idea of a business is one thing, but it's you can classify a single software developer as a business these days, especially when she makes this amazing thing that everyone wants, and just happens to run the servers and the infrastructure on a cloud computing software like Azure. But yeah, it shouldn't really be that different is kind of, I guess, my basic argument. I remember the second day on my job, my manager at the time, he goes, "Lance, I don't know if I told you this during the interview loop process, which is what we call the process." But Azure.com is not one website. It really is close to 100. And again, we had 87 services back then. It really, each one of those is a unique value proposition. Sorry, it's a unique feature to what somebody might need. Not everyone needs serverless computing, and not everyone needs networking. Everyone should need security is one of the main categories, and you probably need a virtual machine and databases and whatnot. So there's basic building blocks. So those kind of things I think are pretty straightforward especially for IT pros and people in the industry. But all this new stuff that continues to grow, from maps to artificial intelligence and whatnot, yeah, they take a lot of care. So it's funny because our pages and this ecosystem that is the website has different owners, on the product marketing side. And so they have to work with our engineers and designers who work on the Azure product itself. So it really is this constant kind of loop of communication that we have to do to figure out in order to put out the best, informational pages. And honestly, Federico, I think the best things we've been doing lately, not just putting a human face to it all and better copy, because copy really is everything on the web, is demos and decision wizards, and just making it way easier to almost kick the tires to some of the stuff to really try to bring it more to life. Because no one wants a brochureware website anymore. I mean, even when they were the thing to do back in the 2K decade, they're hard to get through. But now people want ballpark pricing. Can I even think about affording this? I have one of my designers just focused on pricing pages and pricing calculators, and they're constantly just working with, I think, multiple PMs just to do that. Product marketing, program managers, as we deem them here, as well as the base understanding. And then the team that I'm a part of, lucky enough to be a part of, called Developer Relations within Cloud and AI. We run the docs too, Microsoft Docs. So you can go and just make sure you understand it, before you get into it. And then we also run Microsoft Learn, which I'm helping to brand right now. And that's our ed tech, educational technology platform. So as long as we are there to support you, in the beginning when you're assessing and trying to figure things out, in the buying, purchasing process, as you mentioned, during the funnel, and then, even afterwards, as you're trying to really take advantage of everything that Azure can provide, or cloud computing in general, we know we got to be there, because that's just the expectation levels.
I was just trying to say that a conversation, it's really inspiring when a lot of questions pop up into my mind, and then I'm just trying to rethinking on those. But I would just end it up with this. I'm always, not always, but most of my time, I'm feeling ignorant at something, right? And from what you said and from the experience you shared, and I would imagine a lot of our guests or our listeners are having those context missing parts from the B2B, the cloud computing and stuff. From all the challenges that you mentioned, I'm so curious to hear more from what should be, how would you spend a desire if you have to pick one to immediately solve one of your biggest challenges in this space? It could be related to the work, it could be related to peers, to a new designers, to even something really, really conceptual. But I'm curious to hear more from the desire that you would spend if you, generally speaking, what wish you would grant from the future and from your day-to-day life at your work. And thanks for everything, kind of. It was great.
Honestly, I really want to go back to the beginning part, the uncovery, discovery portion. I think it was Einstein who's misquoted, because we misquote every famous human, about like, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem itself, and then last 5 minutes actually solve. Like, I am enthralled with jobs to be done framework, and really understanding why people do something in order to progress in their lives. And it's always like Donald Miller, who's an author and speaker and CEO of StoryBrand. He reminded me that, like, every human here is set on this planet to either survive or to thrive. And once you get through that base level of Maslow's hierarchy, and you're just surviving, and you have a job, you have a roof over your head, and you're progressing. Now, okay, what does it take for me to progress in this world? So designers, as we move up, I think you guys had a session about getting an adult dinner table invite, design as it's progressive through the decades. It really, again, we have this superpower in our cape, really is to be intellectually curious, empathetic humans, and going back to really understanding and asking the right questions, because we can all use cloud computing software like Figma or the Adobe Creative Suite, which again are cloud powered. But it's this other innate thing that we have in us that I think is going to be the true successful recipe for us in the future, because we've all cracked the code on how to make tables and toilets and other things. But now, if you make like a toilet brush holder and you put a Philip Stark signature on it and you sell it at Target, which is a big box retailer out here in the US, you can sell millions for $9.99. Like, that design and that understanding of what people want and high touch design at a low cost is something, again, only we can go and figure out by asking the right questions and understanding the jobs that people want to get done in order to progress in their lives, not just survive. Maybe this goes back to my sports background, as I mentioned, because whatever sport was in season I was playing, I wish I played more football, soccer than American football, because I would have a lot less sore bones and a lot more fun. But teamwork, like just being an amazing teammate, whatever that means in the moment. You know how, let's just take football, soccer as an example. The game is so flowing in the moment. The coach isn't really coaching; he's yelling most of the time. It's just the Serie A Italian coaches. The players have to know. They have to have this, again, sixth sense relatability to know and trust that my person's going to be, at a certain position on the field. And obviously, we just ended the Summer Olympics 2020. It was in 2021 because of the pandemic, but the Summer Olympics just ended, and you can't help but be in awe of the things that a lot of these people have been able to do. And it's, of course, everything that goes into being a good teammate: the dedication, the self-discipline, the communication aspect. So again, I'm cheating, because being a great teammate really does incorporate a lot of those other things, and then the trust in each other, and being human at the end of it. And then trying to get to a single, hopefully attainable goal that only you and the team can get to together. So yeah, I didn't realize it was such a a combined answer, but just being a great teammate, I think, is really, really important for designers. Otherwise, just call yourself an artist and go solo.
Or a pixel pusher. It's the difference. It's not in the pixels that now are going to be automated, but in the value that you can provide as a human being and the awareness that you can bring on the table, right? That's
exactly. And again, it's the communication. Like, you got to know how to write an email, and you got to know how to do these, video calls, because they're not going to go away anytime in our lifetime. So yeah, there's just so many dimensions to being a good teammate, I think.
I really learned something very, very cool from you, is that you step up a little bit far from the camera, so that I'm pretty aware of your body language, your hands, but I'm not too much in the zone. If I would do that as an Italian, I would stay in the meeting saying something like this. But I was really super empathetic with you. Thank you so much for taking this hour with us, Lance. This content has been super valuable, I'm pretty sure. Fede, what do you think on that? And when you want to write a book, I'm just helping a mess. I'm not joking. I'm not laughing. Why are you laughing? I'm not laughing at all. I'm not laughing at all.
That'd be amazing. Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so both. Much. Yeah, and congrats on season 2. That's awesome. Keep it going.
Have a nice one. Ciao, guys. Take care.